So we're at the very end of what's been an amazing 3 days. Like we kept saying backstage that it feels like it's gone by so fast, incredibly fast. I kept thinking we had one more day, honestly, earlier. It's been an amazing 3 days. And so I want to wrap things up with something that we've never done before, but I think is well deserved for you all and will help sort of solidify in your mind why you've been here. So the last live event, I was walking down the hallway, I was scurrying through the hallway, going from the bathroom, I believe, to the backstage area, because we had to be on stage in a couple minutes. And so a guy comes up to me and stops me. I'm like, hey, how's it going? He's like, yeah, man, you changed my life. And it's always very amazing when that sort of thing happens. And then, but I was, sort of in a hurry. And he was like, hey, I just started this, 6 months ago or so. And me and a friend just did something really cool. He's like, it didn't take very long, but I got up to the point where I can't remember how much he was doing. Maybe it was 30, 50 grand a month or something like that. But he was basically able to quit his job because of this business. And then he came up and then he said that he and his friend did something very unique. What they did was they held a resume burning party. It's right there. It's a resume burning party. So this gave me an idea. Can't necessarily set a lot of things on fire in here. We've got something else cool for you all. So right now, the last time we'll be together for this amazing 3-day event, we're going to do something very special that we've never done before. But first, let's talk about where you may be at right now. I'm clicking around, by the way. It's just some notes for myself. Just sit here and listen. There's nothing to be shown up there. So you have 2 forms in front of you. Does everyone have 2 forms in front of you? Yes? Okay, perfect. So let's talk about 3 fresh... Oh. Some people saying no? Yeah, just one? All right, which one do y'all have? Final resume. Okay, perfect. That's the one we need first. If we can get the other one over there. But that's the one we need first. Great. So let's talk about a few frustrations you might be experiencing. The first one is you may hate not having enough freedom. Maybe this business has already created freedom for you, or maybe you're not there yet, or not where you want to be. You hate having not enough freedom, not able to do the things that you want to do when you want to do, take vacations when you want, buy what you want, do what you want with your family. You may just not be able to do those things because your business isn't there yet. So the first thing I'd like you to do is on the final resume document, write down the worst job you've ever had. Give you a few seconds to do that. Write down the worst job you've ever had on the final resume document. And then it also has a little thing in parentheses there. It says, what was the worst part about it? Just jot down a few notes. We'll just give you a few seconds here to do this part. All right. Starting to see a lot of people look up. Okay, cool. So the next thing is you hate not being able to do what you want to do. Maybe there's a vacation you've been wanting to do. Maybe you want to be able to work on a laptop living in Thailand on a beach. Maybe you want to be able to spend more time with your kids. Maybe you want to be able to do something else. Maybe you want to be able to contribute to others. Maybe you want to be able to give back. Maybe you want to do something from a charity standpoint. We heard some incredible things that Richard has been able to do because of the freedom that he has in his life. But until you have that freedom in your life, it's difficult to be able to do those things. Not impossible, but it's difficult. But by having the financial resources in a successful business, you have that freedom that you need. So the second thing I'd like you to write down are 3 things you have to do right now that you don't like doing. But the reason you have to do them is because you don't have the level of wealth you want. Write this down on your final resume document. 3 things that you don't like doing because you don't have the level of wealth you want. We'll give you about a minute or so to write those ones down. All right, seeing quite a few people look up, so we'll keep moving. If you need to keep writing, keep writing. We're going to move on to the next one. So the third thing you may be feeling, and this one's very, very important for me. You hate having to prove yourself to someone else. Hate having to prove yourself to someone else. I know when I bought our first, or my wife and I, when we bought our first investment property, the plan was, even though we had plenty of cash in the bank to pay outright for the house, the investment property, that the plan was to go get a loan for it, just because we thought it was the good financial thing to do. But having to go through that process, such a pain in the butt. It's like, wish I could just send them like a freaking bank statement, be like, look, there's more cash in here than we need to buy the house. It's like, who cares about anything else? But they just don't think that way, and I hate having to prove myself to those kind of people, to banks, to companies, to institutions, to other people, because I know that I'm valuable, but other people don't necessarily know that. But by having a more successful business, it's never going to be perfect, but it does get a lot better. So the third thing I want you to do is to write down any people or companies you've had to prove yourself to because you didn't have your own thriving, successful business that's made real wealth for you. Write down people or companies you've had to prove yourself to because you don't have your own thriving business. This could be bosses, could be at jobs that you've had. You had to prove yourself to them, even though they were a pain in the butt. You had to prove your worth to them because you were working at a job for a place that you didn't like. It could be bosses, it could be jobs, it could be banks if you're getting loans, any of that sort of stuff. Think about any of that kind of stuff. Write down people or companies you've had to prove yourself to. The more you write down, the better. There's space for 5 of them. So we'll give you maybe a minute or two to do that one. All right, looks like most people are done with that one. So what all this adds up to is what were to happen if this business didn't work out? What happens if you never built a successful business? What would it be like if you had to work for someone else for the rest of your life? Work for someone else for the rest of your life. Don't blame me! Exactly. So now I'd like you to write down 3 things you'd miss out on if you never had the freedom that a good, solid, cash-producing business provides. Write down 3 things you'd miss out on. I know people, because of businesses and hectic schedules, have missed out on the birth of their first child, for example. I heard this from, I can't remember who, but it wasn't that long ago. That kind of stuff is going to eat you up later on. Write down 3 things you'd miss out on. What vacations would you not be able to take? What time would you not be able to spend with your family? Think about those kind of things. What experiences would you not be able to have? What would it be like if you had to work for someone else for the rest of your life? Write 3 things down on your final resume document. All right, most people seem to be wrapping that up. So this document, your final resume, represents your past. Keep it on your table, but now pull out the other one. It says your new future. Everyone should have one of these by now. If not, raise your hand. We've got people walking around. So now you're on to the your new future document. This one you're going to be keeping with you. So you want to be able to do whatever you want, when you want. Just as an entrepreneur, sure, you work your butt off. Sure, you may work more hours than an employee, but you get to do what you want when you want. You can take vacations when you want. Sure, you may have to work some while you're on vacation, but you don't have to go ask somebody else if you can take a vacation. You get to do whatever you want, when you want. You just know, at times, if you're building a business, the cost that's going to take, but that's your decision. It's not somebody else's decision at that point. So write down 5 things you want to do in your life on your new future document. Traveling, experiences, people you want to meet, any of that sort of stuff. Write down 5 things you want to do in your life on your new future document. All right. So you want to control your financial future and have financial freedom. You don't want your wealth, your finances, your ability to do things to be at the control of someone else. So the next thing I'd like you to do is to write down your monthly net profit goal to achieve by the end of this year, 2015. Monthly net profit for your business to achieve by the end of this year, 2015. We'll give you about 15 seconds to write that one down. And so in the future, you want to never have to prove yourself to anyone else again. If you have a successful business, you're able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. Who's the only person you have to prove yourself to? Me is right, yourself. So write that down. The only person you'll ever have to prove yourself to again. So lastly, on this document, Your New Future, think about this. What is building a successful business about to you in one word? I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it, maybe write something down, then I may give you some ideas to help you understand this a little better, but I don't want to put something in there until you've had time to digest a little bit. Typically your first gut reaction may be better, maybe not. You may need some time to think over it for a minute or so. So some things, what does business mean about to you? Or what is building a successful business about to you? To me, it's about freedom when it really comes down to it. It's not about wealth, it's not about fancy cars, it's really about freedom. Because I like to work hard, it's just I feel weird if I'm not working hard, but that doesn't mean I want somebody else telling me what I can and cannot do. To me, it's all about freedom. To you, maybe something about something else. Maybe to you, it's about family. Maybe to you, it's about flexibility. Maybe to you, it's about security. Security is a very important value for a lot of people. Any of those sort of things, write down that one word. And while you're doing that, or after you do that, I want to show you something real quick. This is something that became very important to me because, when I was younger, I wasn't by any stretch of the imagination, the world's greatest athlete. I did all kinds of different, I skateboarded and all kinds of stuff when I was younger. So then when it came time to play more traditional sports, I felt like I was a little bit behind. I was young for my age, I was young for my grade, so it was fine. So there were some sports that I quit. I quit early. And I couldn't figure out why, because later on in life I was like, I'm a driven person, I don't understand why I gave up, but on this I don't. On entrepreneurship I don't. It didn't matter how hard things got, I never gave up. There was a good period of time when I was making less money from the new business and having all the stress associated with it than I was from my cushy job. But quitting was not an option. And I think it's because of this. It's what I call the 5 levels of entrepreneurs. This is something for you to think about. So at the bottom here, this being the highest, this being the most basic level. Bottom is an idea. Somebody's sitting at a job maybe, somebody's maybe sitting in class. They're like, man, it would be cool to start a business. That's an idea. They've got this thing in their head, they haven't made any commitment, they haven't necessarily taken any action. It's just some idea floating around in their head. The next level, trial. This is where some of you all may be. Some of you all are likely much further along than this. Some of you all may be here. There was a person that came up to the stage that felt like she had a lot of doubt in her head, but she was giving this a try. Maybe this is where she at, maybe not. But this is, you've jumped into trying something out, but you haven't cut ties to the past, you haven't quit a job, you haven't really dug in, but you're giving it a try. That's the second level. Third level, wanting. This means that you've jumped into business, you're doing it, now you're starting to see something, now you're starting to feel something like, oh, this may be what I want to do for the rest of my life. This may be something that I never want to stop doing. This seems to be working. I want to keep at this. So you've gone from just an idea to giving it a try to start feeling some real motivation. Next level, committed. So now you're like, okay, now I have a plan. Now there's no way I'm going back. Now I'm going to stick with this thing. I'm going to keep at it. I'm committed to grow this business. And lastly, the highest level, identity. This is where I want all of you all to get to, is to make entrepreneurship part of your identity, meaning that this is who you are. It's not something that you're doing. It's not a profession of yours. It's not a way to make money. It's not an event you attend. This is who you are. You are somebody who builds a business. You're not somebody who goes and works for somebody else. That's just not an option. My wife sometimes would like if I went back and worked for somebody else because of the hours I put in, but it's just flat not an option. It's not something I could do at this point because being an entrepreneur is part of my identity. When being an entrepreneur is part of your identity, you never quit. You never give up. This is where I want you all to get to. So before we put your final resume to its final use, I'd like to tell you a story of one of the first heroes of Greek mythology, Perseus, son of Zeus. One day, while a ship was being loaded at the dock, Perseus wandered into the woods to get out of the sun and sat down on the ground and fell asleep. As he slept, a strange dream came to him, the strangest dream he had ever had in his life. There came a lady to him through the woods, taller than he or any living man, but beautiful exceedingly, with gray eyes, clear and piercing, but strangely soft and mild. On her head was a helmet, and in her hand a spear. She stood and looked at him with her clear gray eyes, and Perseus saw that her eyes never moved, but looked straight through him, into his very heart, as if she could see all the secrets of his soul, and knew all that he had ever thought or longed for since the day that he was born. And Perseus dropped his eyes, trembling and blushing as the wonderful lady spoke. "Perseus, you must do an errand for me." "Who are you, lady, and how do you know my name?" "I am Pallas Athene, and I know the thoughts of all men's hearts and discern their manhood or their baseness. And from the souls of clay I turn away, and they are blessed but not by me. They fatten at ease like sheep in the pasture and eat what they did not sow like oxen in the stall. They grow and spread like the fruit along the ground, but like the fruit, they give no shade to the traveler. And when they are ripe, death gathers them, and they go down unloved into hell, and their name vanishes out of the land. But to the souls of fire, I give more fire, and to those who are manful, I give a might more than man's. These are the heroes, the sons of the immortals, who are blessed, but not like the souls of clay. For I drive them forth by strange paths, that they may fight the beasts and the monsters and the enemies of gods and men. Through doubt and need, danger and battle, I drive them, and some of them are slain in the flower of youth. No man knows when or where. And some of them win noble names in a fair and healthy old age. But what will be their latter end, I know not. Tell me now, Perseus, which of these two sorts of men seem to you more blessed, the souls of fire or the souls of clay?" Then Perseus answered boldly, "Better to die in the flower of youth on the chance of winning a noble name than to live at ease like the sheep and die unloved and unrenowned." You see, the path of the entrepreneur isn't always easy. Like the souls of fire, you have to do what others aren't willing to do so you can have what others will never have. This final resume represents your last tie to the past, so now it's time to start on your new future, forging new paths that will create freedom for yourself, for your family, and for everyone else you inspire for the rest of your life. Now please, stand up. I'd like you to hold your final resume in the air. Hold your final resume in the air. On the count of 3, don't start till we start counting, but on the count of 3, I want you to rip your final resume in half with every bit of strength and energy you have, then throw it in the air as you have graduated from your past and graduated from the amazing selling machine. 1, 2, 3.
begin to fight, starships fly away. Battles in the night, revival underway. Oh, let's take a walk and we'll see the stars shoot. Let our minds jump ship and our hearts parachute. Oh, it's a little dark, maybe a tad late, but we close our eyes and our thoughts accelerate. It's all up to your imagination. You start to fall down the rabbit hole. We know that this can't be imitation. We're falling up, yeah, we're falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now. Falling up, yeah, we're falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now. And we're falling up, yeah, falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now. Falling up, yeah, we're falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now. It's all up to your imagination. You start to fall down the rabbit hole. We know that this can't be imitation. Falling up, yeah, falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now. Falling up, yeah, we're falling up, and we're falling up, and there ain't no such thing as falling up, but we're falling up now.
Does this make my butt look big?